We're just watching the highlights during the break. Montreal and Boston. Now, there's no love lost between those two franchises anyways, but I'm totaling up this. 187 penalty minutes, 14 goals. The goalies were fighting. Boston beats Montreal 8-6. Our good friends at Comcast Sports New England. Danny Picard, who was there last night. Was it a great game or an ugly game, Danny?
It was an offensive game, back and forth, but it was also an ugly game when you want to talk about the fighting involved. I mean, I went on my show last week, the day after the game against the Dallas Stars, in which the Bruins and the Stars threw down 3 times in the first 4 seconds to 3 opening faceoffs of the game. Somebody dropped the gloves, and I said, you'll never see anything like this again at the TD Garden this season. And I didn't know that Tim Thomas was going to go down and rush Carey Price a week later against the Canadiens. So it was an ugly game, but it was a game the Bruins certainly needed, and you mentioned it, the Canadiens and the Bruins. I mean, these two teams absolutely hate each other, and I think the Bruins were sick and tired of the Canadiens coming into their building, giving them some cheap shots, and then not wanting to throw the gloves. Well, I think the Bruins just decided they're going to drop them and they're going to throw punches, and it ended up in a couple 5-on-5 brawls and a goalie fight that I think if Tim Thomas could take it back, he would have had a little better technique against what he called his pal, Carey Price, after that one.
What is the fighting etiquette for goalies?
You know what? I don't know. I mean, if a goalie goes in and gets involved in the scrum and it is sort of everybody going at it, then the other goalie's looking down, and their team's outnumbered if the other goalie sort of jumps in. So Tim Thomas has to sort of make a statement and at least skate down to the blue line and see if the opposing goaltender sort of gets out of that pile. If the goaltender stays in, then I think you have to go down and at least try to drop the gloves or at least push the other goaltender. Carey Price came down. I don't know what was said between the two, but Tim Thomas said after the game that they were in the All-Star weekend together. They did a couple skills clinics in their past together. It was sort of a play fight with each other. Now, Carey Price, if he wanted to, could have completely pummeled Tim Thomas to the ground. We had a shirt over his head. They have respect. They didn't do it. As for etiquette, I mean, at that point when the gloves are off, it really is anything goes. And I give credit to the referee, who at first didn't look like he was going to let them go. Step aside, let them have it, but it wasn't much of a fight. And again, I think Tim Thomas, if he looks at the tape today, he's going to be awfully embarrassed at the way he sort of grabbed Carey Price with the right hand. You got to go in with the left if you're a righty right there. He's not a southpaw. He's got to jump in with the left. He didn't do it, but it certainly got the fans at the TD Garden fight up last night because that place was rocking when Tim Thomas skated down.
He's Danny Picard. He's covering the Bruins, Comcast Sports New England, joining us for the Dan Patrick Show. The next time these two, do we know when they meet again?
Yeah, they meet in mid-March. They meet.
All right. Does the NHL want this?
I don't see how last night was a bad thing. I mean, I don't think you want every game going like this. You certainly don't want 5-on-5 brawls because I think what you start to get into is sucker punches. You start to get into guys who don't want to fight, having to drop the gloves. You take away from some of the star talent. Apparently, you don't take away from the offense because there were 14 goals last night, right? But no, I don't think the NHL wants to see this. And when you get into the postseason, you don't see this because you want to keep guys out of the penalty box. I mean, there was a point last night where you couldn't fit anyone else in either penalty box. I mean, it was comical the way it was. I don't think the NHL wants to see this, but at the same time, I think when you get into the postseason and you get into some games in which your season could be ended, you don't want some key guys in the penalty box. And they need those guys on the ice. You see a little bit more defensive hockey. You see some scrums after the whistle. That's fine. But every once in a while, I don't see how this can be bad for the league. I mean, we know this is a league that wants some publicity. Any publicity for this league, I would think, couldn't hurt. You get, 2 goalies fights in 2 weeks? At least this one didn't have any broken orbital bones, but I don't see how this is bad for the league. Yeah, if it happens in every game, every night, it's an issue, but I don't think that would be the case, especially as you head into the postseason and you get some meaningful games and you get teams that can't afford to put that many guys in the penalty box.
Is there a maximum capacity that if you get ready to go into the penalty box, does it say maximum capacity of X number of people in there? How many could you get in there?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. That's not really something that comes up every day because you don't run into that issue every game. But usually in that type of situation, when you have that many guys in the penalty box, that means somebody's been ejected, or that means somebody gets a 10-minute misconduct or a major or an instigator. And at that point, guys begin to get sent back to the locker room. So I don't think you ever run into a situation where you keep getting 2-minute tripping penalties. I think if there's that many guys in the box, that means there was a big brawl. That means guys are getting kicked out of the game or guys are getting sent to the locker room for the rest of the period. I don't think you ever run into a situation where you have too many, where you can't fit another guy, but certainly you got close last night.
Good to visit with you, Danny. Thanks for joining us.
All right, Dan. Thanks for having me.
All right, Danny Picard, Comcast Sports New England.